Hey guys, Reed here. For our next video, I thought I would show you how to make a map in Tableau and some of the limitations of the maps that they let you do. So our first step to making a map is we can drag country into detail, and this tells Tableau to pull in the latitude and longitude onto our columns and rows, and then to put dots on each country that we have data for in our data set. After we do that, we can then decide what um, measures we want to be looking at on our map. So for instance, if we're interested in infant mortality rate, we can drag that up to color. And now we have a spectrum of colors going from a 0.03 infant mortality rate all the way up to 1.627. And this is a scale up here because we have a continuous variable in here. So what we can do is, if we're unhappy with the color choice that we have, we can click on color and edit it so that way it's more uh, descriptive for the information we're doing. This is somewhat of an artsy choice, but in creating effective visualizations, half of it is being an artist. So we can do red to blue diverging, and if we do apply, you can see right now that countries with low infant mortality rates, including the United States, are a very light or very uh, deep red, whereas countries with a high infant mortality rate are blue. This isn't usual good practice. Red is usually used to identify negatives, so we can click reversed, and if we apply, now countries with low infant mortality rates are blue, and countries with high infant mortality rates are red. So we can say OK. Now, if we wanted to look at another dimension on this data, this gets a little difficult. So for instance, if we pull on the healthcare expenditure by GDP and we wanted to put it as size, suddenly all of our infant mortality rates are changed to dots, and the dot indicates the size of the healthcare expenditure per GDP, and the dot color is our infant mortality rate. I'm not a huge fan of how this looks, so I'm going to undo that. So perhaps a better way to do this is through the use of a tooltip. Now, a tooltip is what we see when we hover over a country, and right now it tells us the name of the country and the infant mortality rate in that country. So if we want to show the healthcare expenditure by GDP on the tooltip as well, and that's the only place to show it, we can drag the pill up to the tooltip. And if you notice, our map itself doesn't change, but when we hover over the country, we can now have more detail. And we can do the same for the remainder of the healthcare pills. So now when we hover over our tooltip, we can see our all the information regarding healthcare, but the only color displayed is going to be what we were initially interested in. Now, one other thing that I always do when I'm looking at a map is I make sure that the countries are complete. So as you can see right now, most of North America is over here, but we have Alaska and Hawaii on this side of the screen. And if you notice, if you click and drag, you don't get any option to move it. So instead what we're going to do is we press shift, and as you can see, we now have an arrow indicator on our screen, and we can now drag our map so it's showing the whole, and the country is a whole. We can drag down so we see most of Greenland as well. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to call or text.